think we'll start with Molly Qerim.
Ooh, she's on
She, yesterday when we talked, we knew that she was leaving, but we didn't know she was leaving like immediately, which is an indication that, man, this thing's a bit more complicated than just they couldn't settle on the money. It just seems more seriously. She's off the show now. ESPN put out a statement. Stephen A. Smith had something to say.
Miss Molly Qerim, longtime host for ESPN's First Take, my day job, where she has been the last 10 years. Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
Hours after the clip surfaced, social media went wild. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing as whispers started spreading across Instagram. Stephen A. Smith and Molly Qerim's chemistry looked way too close for comfort. And just when people thought things couldn't get any messier, Jalen Rose, Molly's ex-husband, stepped into the storm and let loose. His reaction wasn't calm, it wasn't measured, it was explosive.
So let me start the speculation. When I heard that it was immediate, I was like, oh, she must already have a job lined up. Mm-hmm. And the job that she has lined up must be some sort of competitor to ESPN. And so that made me, is she going to Fox Sports?
Stephen A., who's usually loud and confident on camera, suddenly looked shaken as Jalen fired off shots that left the internet stunned. This is where it all began. And trust me, you're not ready for what came next.
Molly is a friend. Molly is a coworker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But
the news hit like an earthquake across ESPN. Nobody saw it coming. Molly Qerim, the face of First Take for nearly a decade, dropped a revelation that shook the entire sports world. After 10 straight years of holding down that morning desk, she took to Instagram with a message that left fans speechless. It wasn't a rant or a meltdown. It was calm, polished, and yet so final it sent chills down everyone's spine.
Is she going to host one of these league shows on one of these Amazon or Netflix or whatever? And ESPN, all right, so you're going to do that. We're going to let you go immediately. The other thing I thought, Steve, was when you pay Stephen A. Smith $20 million, that means, okay, well, whoever his co-host is, they're going to want an exorbitant amount of money.
In a perfectly worded Instagram story that got screenshotted and shared everywhere, Molly thanked the fans who welcomed her into their homes every single morning for 10 years straight. She called it an incredible chapter and spoke about the honor of sitting beside the sharpest minds in sports. But something about her tone felt heavy, like there was more hiding between the lines. Longtime followers noticed it instantly. This wasn't just a goodbye, it was a coded message. Every word carried weight. Every sentence felt like the end of an era. She sounded grateful, but also done, like she was closing a door that would never reopen.
it's not as if I know all the details. It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately. As you see from her Instagram post, the Instagram story.
Before Molly could even control her own narrative, Sports Business Journal dropped a bombshell. Insiders confirmed she'd be leaving ESPN by the end of 2025. The timing was brutal. Just hours earlier, fans had watched her run another fiery episode of First Take like nothing was wrong. Nobody had a clue that her time was almost up. That morning, she was in full command, balancing chaos like a pro.
This is a thankless job being a moderator. I know a lot of people who've sat in that same position on different shows, that show, and this, trust me, is a thankless position. It's hard to see somebody raise their hand and keep it up high for this long. I'm actually thoroughly surprised that Molly Qerim made it this long in that position.
She kept Stephen A. Smith in check, pushed debates to their breaking point, and effortlessly steered the show from shouting matches to smooth commercial breaks. She was the calm in ESPN's daily storm, the glue that held those clashing egos together. And yet, while she smiled through the cameras, something clearly shifted behind the scenes.
Last night, after much reflection, I've decided it's time to close this incredible chapter and step away from First Take. Hosting this show has been one of the greatest honors of my career. Every morning I had the privilege of sharing the desk with some of the most brilliant, passionate, and entertaining voices in sports, and with all of you, the best fans in the world.
Adding more heat to the story, whispers began to swirl about Jalen Rose, her ex-husband, being quietly aware of what was coming. Insiders say Jalen had been keeping tabs on Stephen A.'s growing closeness with Molly, and when the news of her exit dropped, people started connecting dots fast. Fans flooded social media with theories, claiming this wasn't just a career move, it was personal.
So she may have been making $2.5, $3 million as the host. Well, when Stephen A. is sitting there making 20, well, maybe now she wants to make 10. And maybe ESPN will, we'll pay you 5, Molly. And then on the same day, Malika Andrews gets a new contract, or it gets announced. And I'm sure Molly said, what they paid Malika this.
No one watching that Monday morning broadcast could have guessed that within hours, Molly Qerim, the same woman who made First Take must-watch TV, would be walking away from the desk that made her a household name. It didn't take long for ESPN's higher-ups to step in.
To be blunt, it came as a shock. I was not aware that this is something that she was contemplating doing. But in the end, she made her decision. And we have to move on as a show. I don't like it, I'm not happy about it, because I appreciate her and what she has meant to me, what she has meant to the show, what she has meant to the network, what she's meant to the business.
Burke Magnus, the network's president of content, quickly released a polished corporate statement. Every word perfectly crafted, every sentence carefully neutral. On the surface, it sounded like your typical PR move, but anyone paying attention could feel the tension dripping between the lines. He praised Molly Qerim's incredible run since joining ESPN back in 2006, highlighting how she transformed First Take into one of the network's biggest hits after taking over as host in 2015. But there was one thing missing, any mention of the chaos and whispers swirling behind the scenes.
Mina Kimes is making nearly $2 million for cluttering up a football show. I just, when Stephen A. sits atop and you're paying him $20 million, it just raises everyone else's expectations and frustrations. So those are my two initial thoughts on why it's over so abruptly and so quickly for Molly Qerim.
To insiders, the silence said everything. It was too careful, too polished. Like ESPN was hiding the real reason behind her sudden exit. Magnus made sure to celebrate her legacy, calling her a driving force behind First Take's success. But fans could tell this was damage control. Something deeper was being covered up. Then came the biggest shock of all. The very next morning, viewers tuned in expecting the usual fiery debates. But instead, they found Stephen A. Smith sitting alone at the desk. No Molly, no energy, no playful back and forth, just Stephen A., visibly shaken, struggling to find his rhythm. His tone was quieter, his eyes heavier, and for once, the king of hot takes looked human.
And I'm gonna miss her. It's just that simple. But we all make decisions that we deem to be in our best interest, for whatever reason. And that story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I gonna share it with you? No. Because again, that's her story to tell. But I do think it's important that I started off the show by just...
For anyone really paying attention, Stephen A. Smith's words that morning hit different. This wasn't some slow, graceful goodbye or a carefully negotiated exit. This was sudden, brutal even. Molly Qerim's departure came out of nowhere, and the way Stephen A. reacted told fans everything they needed to know without him ever saying it outright. The chemistry, the connection, the history, gone in a flash.
Jason, I actually watched that whole video clip of Stephen A. Smith. I just thought it was fun. It ain't none of y'all business. It was a contract negotiation. So that was about the money. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for cluing. It's always about the money, though. It's like in boxing. Why didn't this fight happen? Easy. There wasn't enough money. Seriously. Like, even if you think you can't win that fight, you pay a guy enough money, they're going to try their best, but they want that money.
He spoke with what sounded like carefully controlled honesty, saying he was completely caught off guard by her decision to leave First Take, the show they had built together into a morning juggernaut pulling in over 500,000 viewers daily. He called her a friend, a colleague, and someone he'd trusted through the chaos of live television. His tone was respectful, but underneath it, fans could feel the tension. Something about the way he paused, the way he looked down, it didn't seem like this was just business. It felt personal.
Acknowledging my love and appreciation for her and what she's meant to me and what she's meant to the show. Because over the years, over the last decade or so, the things that we've accomplished, she was right there. And we could talk about me being the star of my daily television show. We could talk about the contributors that have been stars as well. We can even talk about me doing this show right now. You know, it's a hell of a lot easier to have a second job.
And then, right as the internet began dissecting every word, Jalen Rose's name started popping up again. People were quick to connect the dots between Molly's sudden move, Stephen A's shaky response, and the rumors about Jalen's growing frustration behind the scenes. Insiders claimed Jalen had felt uncomfortable with how close Molly and Stephen A had become since the divorce, and that maybe, just maybe, this emotional on-air moment was about more than contracts or ratings.
So obviously the money matters, and I do think you make a good point. Most people have a rational thought process. Okay, if he's the alpha, everyone else has a place. But there is a belief that, hey, if you elevate your pay scale, and I'm only going to get 30% of what you're getting as the star, guess what? My 30% has to elevate with whatever you're getting. I kind of do understand that. And Jason, I was a little bit stunned.
Smith hinted that the departure was tied to difficult discussions that didn't go as planned, leaving everyone involved hurt and disappointed. Stephen A finally admitted what everyone in the industry had been whispering for months. There were tense contract negotiations going down behind the scenes.
When the first job is made so easy because you're working with somebody that makes it easy for you. And that's what she did for me personally. And so because of that, I just wanted to wish her the best. Let her know the love is always here from myself, from my personal assistant and my right hand, Sumatra, my security, Juvie, and my sister Carmen, and so many people that have loved her and loved on her over the years. We've got nothing but love for her.
ESPN didn't want to lose Molly Qerim, not after everything she brought to First Take. Sources say the network threw serious offers her way, desperate to keep one of their most valuable on-air talents from walking out the door. But whatever went down in those meetings clearly didn't end well. Stephen A tried to play it cool, saying that's her story to tell. But that one line said everything. He knew what went down, every detail, every disagreement, every heated exchange. Fans could sense it in his tone, that mix of frustration and restraint. He wasn't just losing a co-host, he was losing his anchor, his balance on the show. Something about the way he avoided specifics made it obvious. He was holding back. And once he said that, social media exploded.
But just imagine all this time, and you're in that position. And then you get to the position where you're in another contract negotiation. You're not hearing what you want to hear. You're not hearing it not only in the money, but in also they're talking funny in terms of giving you greater role. And you're like, it's time to move on. Imagine you're in that moment. What will make you, a report comes out after you do a Monday show, not show up for work on Tuesday?
Fans who'd watched their chemistry evolve over 10 years flooded timelines with questions and theories. Without Molly's calm, grounding energy, the show instantly felt off balance, like chaos waiting to happen. Some viewers were heartbroken to see her go, saying First Take would never be the same again. But others went straight for the drama, claiming her exit was about more than money. Rumors flew about unequal pay, power plays, and even tension between Jalen Rose and Stephen A. Smith.
Because we talked about the whole Molly Qerim situation in the morning. We're thinking, okay, it's going to play out, and there's going to be a grand farewell, celebration show, goodbye. And she just Dear John'd him. She said, out. I was like, wow. So obviously, this is pretty obvious. at least from Molly's point of view, I don't think it was the most amicable split.
People started comparing their contracts, wondering how much influence Stephen A's massive deal had on everything. It felt less like a negotiation gone wrong and more like a quiet rebellion against ESPN's unspoken hierarchy. The story was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning.
I'm not surprised. I'm only surprised at the timing. I'm surprised that she didn't just tap out over the weekend and they make no mention of it and they land that plane a lot softer than they did. This was an abrupt landing. This is an emergency exit. This is an emergency landing. This is one of those for a reason. I give you what a therapist told me. Therapist told me it's not just how things end, it's why are they ending that way?
To understand why everything fell apart so suddenly, we've got to rewind the clock and look at the decade-long storm that brewed behind the cameras. For 10 years, Molly Qerim and Stephen A. Smith built one of the most talked-about partnerships in sports television. Thousands of hours of fiery debates, viral moments, and on-screen chemistry that fans couldn't look away from. But beneath that polished banter, pressure had been building for years. To really grasp how huge this shift is, we have to go back to September 15th, 2015, the day Molly stepped in as the permanent host of First Take after Carrie Champion's exit. It was a massive role, and she had to navigate a volatile mix of personalities. Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless, two men with egos as big as their voices.
Report said she turned down the contract, which means that she had probably seen all that she wanted to see at the, at that network. Mind you, she has been with ESPN for 20 years. 20 years. If you do anything, or if you work for any company for 20 years, maybe after some time, maybe you'll get tired. Maybe you want to do something else. I don't know how much money Molly made. I'm sure she made very good money working on TV and working at that network.
From day one, Molly had to be more than just a moderator. She was the anchor, the voice of reason, the one who kept the fire from burning the whole studio down. Stephen A. brought the drama, the passion, and those legendary tirades that could light up social media within minutes. Molly brought balance, logic, and grace, a mix that made First Take must-watch TV. Fans loved their dynamic, even when the arguments got heated. Then 2016 hit, and Skip Bayless walked away to Fox Sports. That's when everything truly changed.
Let's remember, wasn't it just last week Stephen A. was on air bragging about the people he stood up for to get paid and how many, Cam, I did it for Shannon Sharp and I did it for this person and that person. And when I look at the Abrupt, I'm not coming into work tomorrow.
Yeah.
That also is maybe there's pointing the finger at Stephen A. Smith.
Suddenly, Stephen A. was the undeniable star, and Molly had to hold her ground alone in the chaos. The balance shifted, the tension grew, and from that moment on, the show became less about sports debates and more about how long that partnership could survive under the weight of fame, ego, and growing rumors. The numbers don't lie. Stephen A. Smith and Molly Qerim were unstoppable together.
So maybe she has enough money saved or whatever it is, or whatever. I don't know her financial situation, and I'm not going to be pocket watching the pocketbook of a lady, God forbid. But I'm sure she's done very well for herself. And maybe it was just a time for her to move on. People after a while, people have other interests, they decide to do other things, and I think it's perfectly normal.
During the pandemic, when millions of people were stuck at home craving entertainment and connection, First Take became the show to watch. Viewership exploded by over 50%, pulling in more than 500,000 viewers every single morning. It wasn't just sports talk, it was a daily ritual for fans who wanted passion, arguments, and a little bit of chaos to go with their coffee. And at the center of it all was Molly Qerim. She was the calm in the storm, the one who could handle two of the loudest voices in sports and still make it look effortless. Her quick wit and sense of humor brought warmth to debates that could have easily turned hostile. She made it feel human, fun, and unpredictable. Without her, those debates between Stephen A. and his co-hosts could have spiraled out of control fast. Their chemistry was undeniable. From the friendly jabs to the inside jokes, it felt like they really understood each other. Clips of them laughing, arguing, or playfully teasing went viral constantly, turning their on-air energy into internet gold. Fans loved it, but not everyone saw it as just professional chemistry. Some noticed those awkward silences, those glances that lingered too long, and those moments where tension felt a little too real.
I mean, you can play it out to the end of the year and move on to your next deal, but when you don't come in, it makes me think maybe Stephen A. is a part of her frustration.
Well, part of that clip of Stephen A. Smith yesterday that dealt with this subject, he went on this diatribe about how everyone has a boss, that everyone has someone that they have to be accountable for, and no one's ever completely free.
One viral moment came during the NBA Finals when ESPN's cameras accidentally caught Stephen A.'s screen live on air. Molly tried to keep it cool and told him to shut off his laptop, but he refused, live in front of everyone. It was funny, uncomfortable, and so them. She often found herself face-palming at his wild takes, but that balance, his fire and her poise, was what made the show magic. Then came the contract bombshell.
The obvious take is that whatever happened is it wasn't amicable. This is not them parting on good terms. I think you look at the way it was reported by Austin Karp at Sports Business Journal on Monday night, and it comes out that, she's going to be done at the end of the year, which is pretty early, I would say, in these type of negotiations to make that sort of judgment when you're still 3 months out. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes both sides realize they're at the end, and they've reached kind of a stalemate, and they both decide to go their separate ways.
In 2025, Stephen A. signed a massive new deal reportedly worth over $10 million a year, making him one of the highest paid figures in all of sports media. His face was everywhere: ESPN, podcasts, commercials, late night shows. The empire was his. But behind the success, there was a growing question. How long could Molly stand in the shadow of someone whose star power and paycheck kept getting bigger, while hers stayed the same?
I thought that was a kind of an interesting segue that he had in terms of the Molly Qerim situation. And now that you say it, I'm thinking, are those two things connected? That maybe Stephen A. says, hey, I have great value. She's our point guard. I'm comfortable with her. Maybe the higher up said, hey, look, Stephen A., you got the money. The budget is the budget. And maybe, this is just a theory, just my opinion, maybe he wanted Molly Qerim to get all the extra money. But again, it's not his money. It's not his budget.
But what about Molly Qerim, the woman who kept First Take from flying completely off the rails? She was the structure, the balance, the reason Stephen A. Smith could go wild without the show collapsing into chaos. For nearly a decade, she managed egos, defused tension, and still kept the energy alive every morning. Yet when the spotlight hit, it was usually on Stephen A., not the one who made sure the spotlight didn't burn the place down.
But then you turn on First Take today, and Stephen A. Smith is opening it up, and he's bidding farewell to Molly. And it's clear that she's done for good. Like, this is it for her. I think it just speaks to the idea that whatever happened was not amicable, and that they are not parting on seemingly very pleasant terms at this moment.
Yeah, I think that was clear to me too.
Sports analyst Marcellus Wiley spoke out and said exactly what fans had been whispering. Molly's exit wasn't just about contracts, it was about respect. He claimed she left because she didn't feel valued the way she should have been. Even though she was the glue holding that empire together, she wasn't out here yelling or chasing viral moments. She was the calm professional who made First Take work. And still, reports revealed her salary was only around $1 to $1.5 million a year, barely a fraction of what Stephen A. was making.
It's like Stephen A. put on his apology voice, whenever he gets into a scandal that he has to monologue an apology for. That was the same type of voice he was using at the top of today's show.
Wiley didn't hold back. He said, it's 1,000% correct that pay discrepancies played a part, arguing that Molly deserved a paycheck on the same level as other top ESPN names like Mina Kimes or Malika Andrews, both of whom had secured strong deals reflecting their true value to the network. Meanwhile, Molly kept it classy. In her final statement, she avoided direct shots, saying she was grateful to work with the most intelligent, passionate, and funny voices in sports. But the silence spoke volumes, especially since she didn't name the one voice she'd shared that desk with for 10 straight years. Stephen A. Smith tried to soften the blow by calling Molly Qerim his work wife, expressing real sadness about her leaving. But that comment only made things messier. Fans immediately started questioning what that really meant and how deep their connection truly went. What was supposed to sound respectful suddenly raised eyebrows about boundaries, favoritism, and what might have really been happening off camera. Insiders started whispering that the tension wasn't just emotional, it was about power. According to multiple reports, Molly had quietly hoped Stephen A. would have her back during her contract talks, maybe even use his influence at ESPN to help push for equal pay. After all, if anyone had the clout to make things happen, it was him. But apparently, that support never came. Behind the polished smiles, there were creative clashes, professional frustrations, and a growing sense that Molly was fighting this battle alone. To make it even stranger, the timing didn't add up. ESPN announced she'd be leaving months before her contract was actually set to expire at the end of 2025. Initially, the plan was for her to stay through the year and make a graceful exit, but suddenly everything got fast-tracked. According to ESPN's president Burke Magnus, the network had been preparing for a transition. But even he admitted the speed of her departure caught people off guard. And with Molly staying silent while Stephen A. took the spotlight, the internet filled in the blanks fast. Fans flooded Reddit and X with theories, some saying this was all about loyalty gone wrong, others claiming Jalen Rose's shadow still lingered over the situation. Whatever the truth was, one thing became clear. Molly Qerim's exit wasn't just a career move. It was the unraveling of one of ESPN's most powerful on-screen partnerships. Behind the scenes, the offers started rolling in fast. Reports claimed that Fox Sports had already reached out to Molly Qerim with a deal worth around $2 million a year, and this time they weren't offering her another moderating gig. They wanted to give her a leading role, a fresh start, her own spotlight, and the freedom to shape a show her way. That's something she'd never truly had at ESPN, where she was always balancing other people's egos instead of leading her own vision. And it didn't stop there. Rumors said that streaming giants like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video were also circling, ready to bring her in as they expanded deeper into live sports and talk content. Suddenly, Molly Qerim wasn't just leaving a show. She was entering free agency, and the world was watching. It was a bold move, but it made sense. She knew her worth had outgrown what ESPN was offering. Staying might have meant safety, but leaving meant power. The woman once known for keeping order on First Take was now creating her own lane. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith found himself in an awkward position. On one hand, he spoke warmly about her exit, saying he'd miss her energy and friendship. But on the other hand, everyone knew he had been the biggest benefactor of the system that made her feel overlooked. His massive contract, his brand dominance, and his unshakable influence had turned First Take into his empire. Stephen A. Smith admitted he did know more about Molly Qerim's departure, but refused to spill any details. That single confession lit a fire online. Fans split in two camps instantly. Some accused him of protecting ESPN's corporate image at Molly's expense, while others claimed he was simply showing respect and protecting her privacy. Either way, his silence only made the mystery deeper. People wanted answers, and Stephen A. wasn't giving them. That moment revealed just how complicated their off-camera relationship had become. The emotions, the loyalty, the frustration, it was all tangled together. And now, ESPN was stuck in a crisis of its own making. They had just lost one of their most beloved and stabilizing on-air stars, and the whole sports media world was watching every move the network made next. Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content, quickly jumped into action and announced a 30 to 45-day audition process to find Molly's replacement. But insiders said that wasn't confidence. It was hesitation. ESPN knew no one could replicate what she brought to First Take. Her absence left a hole so big, even the network's biggest personalities were nervous about who could possibly fill it. As the names started floating around, one in particular grabbed headlines: Joy Taylor. On paper, she seemed perfect. A proven host from the herd with Colin Cowherd, smart, strong-willed, and capable of matching Stephen A.'s explosive energy. But when word reached Stephen A., reports claim he didn't hesitate. He said, "Hell no!" Allegedly, he wanted full control over who sat across from him next, and Joy's sharp wit and bold attitude might have been too much for him to handle. Stephen A. Smith's rumored veto power over who could sit beside him raised serious questions about the real power dynamics at ESPN. If he had enough influence to block hosts like Joy Taylor from joining the show, did he also have a hand in the behind-the-scenes salary talks that may have driven Molly Qerim away in the first place? The thought alone sent fans and insiders spiraling into debate. Former ESPN star Marcellus Wiley didn't hold back either. He doubled down, saying Stephen A's refusal to stand up for Molly during her contract negotiations was a huge factor in why she walked away. According to Wiley, Molly expected him to use his clout to level the playing field, but instead, she found herself battling a system that revolved around his power. That silence, Wiley said, spoke louder than any statement he could have made. After Molly's exit, ESPN scrambled to find her replacement, and the list of potential names looked like a sports media all-star lineup. Inside sources revealed that Shea Cornette, a popular SportsCenter host, was one of the leading internal contenders. She had energy, charm, and a real connection with fans. Then came Peter Schrager from NFL Network. He temporarily filled in during the first few episodes after Molly left, bringing enthusiasm and football expertise that fans surprisingly loved. His analytical style gave the show a more grounded tone, something that could either refresh First Take or risk diluting its fiery identity. Meanwhile, ESPN also looked outside its walls. Colleen Wolfe from NFL Network was reportedly on the shortlist too, admired for her sharp interviewing skills and effortless charisma. Each candidate brought something different, but the real challenge was monumental, finding someone who could stand toe-to-toe with Stephen A without being overshadowed. Because no matter how many names were thrown around, one truth kept echoing through sports media circles. No one could truly replace Molly Qerim. She had mastered the impossible balance between chaos and control, making First Take electric yet watchable. And now, without her, that balance was gone. The aftermath hit ESPN hard. In the first week after Molly Qerim's sudden exit, First Take's ratings dropped by nearly 10%. Viewers instantly felt her absence. The debates didn't flow the same, the energy felt off, and even Stephen A seemed a little lost without that steady, calming voice beside him. But as rumors about her potential replacement spread, curiosity gave the numbers a slight bump again. Still, it was clear, Molly's presence wasn't just important, it was essential. For years, she had been the invisible glue holding chaos together. ESPN was learning the hard way that you can replace a name but not a presence. Without her, the show felt colder, louder, and less human. Stephen A tried to walk the tightrope, publicly praising her, calling her a friend and a professional legend, while privately dodging the whispers that he didn't back her when it mattered most. That contradiction became the heart of the entire scandal. Admiration on camera, avoidance behind the scenes. The entire ordeal became a powerful reminder of how fragile success can be, even for the brightest stars. Molly Qerim had done everything right. She worked her way up, handled the pressure with grace, and helped transform First Take into ESPN's flagship show. She didn't just moderate debates, she elevated them. Her charm, timing, and control turned fiery arguments into art, and fans could feel the difference once she was gone. Now, as guest hosts shuffle in and out, struggling to recreate that chemistry, the truth becomes clearer with every passing week. The show may still stand, but the soul she brought to it is missing. And that leads to the real question. Was this Molly taking control of her destiny, walking away from an environment that no longer fit her vision? Or was it the system quietly pushing out another woman who dared to know her worth? Maybe the truth lies somewhere in the middle, a mix of power, pain, and purpose that defies easy labels. One thing's undeniable. Molly Qerim's departure has exposed cracks in ESPN's foundation that can't be ignored. As fans watch her next moves and see Stephen A wrestle with the fallout, they're finally realizing just how much she brought to the table all along. So what do you think really happened behind the cameras? Was Molly pushed out? Or did she finally decide to walk away from a game that was never played fair? Drop your thoughts down below, hit that like button, subscribe for more exclusive stories just like this, share the video with someone who loves the drama, and I'll see you in the next one.